Hi, Ed. How are you folks this fine day? We're moving right along in this course. We're on chapter 13. We have chapters 14, 15, and 16 yet to complete. And I hope that all is going well. If it's not, you can contact me. Chapter 13 focuses in on personality, and I want you folks to think about this. Personality, we have an entire course on the theories of personality, just as in many of the chapters that we have in general psych. If we expand it out to other studies, most of the chapters in general psych will make up a complete course. And so basically, what I want to do is introduce you to these concepts. And today is personality. It's kind of an interesting study, personality. First of all, did you ever wonder what is personality? Now, what is interesting about personality is that we all have a personality. Our personalities are unique, and this is what is the result of, not necessarily the result of, but this is why we may like some individuals and maybe not like some individuals so much, basically because of a personality, we'll say, conflict, or a personality attraction. And this is what makes us unique. When we look for someone to marry, we look for someone that is unique in specific ways and fits our personality. And not everyone seeks the same person to marry. that would really be interesting if everyone wanted to marry the same person. And so these are some of the uniquenesses in personality. Now, as we go through this here, like I said, we all have one, and it's different for everyone. We do not have the same personality. It's kind of interesting what influences this, and we're going to talk about this, what influences this and makes our personality somewhat different. Even though we're in the same family, we've come from the same gene pool, we've grown up in the same environment, our personalities can be extremely the opposite of one another. Now, in contrast to this, we can take identical twins and have them separated at birth, and yet when they meet one another and are brought back together at the age of 25 or 30, 40, they have a lot of similar characteristics. So this is what is interesting about personality again. Where does our personality come from? Well, we have, and we'll see this a little bit, we have what is called a personality theorist or a personality theorist. And these are people that want to tell us why we behave the way we do, why we act the way we do, what is behind our personality. And we've all visited about some of the theorists, and usually when we talk about a theorist, one individual that comes to mind is an individual by the name of Sigmund Freud. Well, talking about our personality, then we wonder, and I know that pet owners will say pets have a personality. Pets respond differently to different situations. Pets may show emotions. I realize that all of this takes place, and it's interesting to say that a pet may have a personality. But I'm sure that many pet owners who are around their pets and really enjoy their pets will say that these pets have different personalities, that pets behave differently. I know one individual out on the farm had, I think it was 5 cats. each one of those cats, each one of those 5 cats would behave a little bit differently. So do the cats have personality? Do horses have personality? I've heard of horses who are very aggressive. I've been around individuals who talk about horses. They would have a good disposition, meaning that if they had a good disposition, you might say, well, if that horse has a good disposition, then maybe there are some horses that do not have a good disposition. So personality plays into this factor. And as we go through this, why do we accept some individuals and really enjoy being with some individuals and not so much with some other individuals? Well, one of the focuses that individuals take on personality is extroversion and introversion. An extrovert is an outgoing individual, likes to be around people, and an introvert would prefer to be by self or with a select few. And so there are individuals who are drawn to the extroverted individual and likes the extroverted individual. And then there are some that are drawn to the introverted individual and enjoy being around an introverted individual. An individual that, like I say, an introverted individual is an individual that likes to be with just self or others. Now, there's one way of looking at this, another way of looking at extroversion and introversion, and that is if you can imagine yourself with a battery. You have a battery someplace in your body, and this battery is what keeps you going. Well, this battery has to be charged. Well, extroverts charge their batteries by being with other people. Introverts charge their batteries by being with a select few or maybe one individual or even being by themselves. So if we look at it that way, with the extrovert and the introvert, it's kind of interesting. I know it's about 75% of the people are extroverts or have an extroverted type personality. But as far as accomplishing certain aspects, and I used to run a little experiment on this with the groups that I had in Theories of Personality and the course Theories of Personality. And what I found basically was that introverts could accomplish more in a shorter period of time. A group of introverts could accomplish more in a shorter period of time than a group of extroverts, because the extroverts were battling back and forth somewhat, and each one wanting to go ahead and give their ideas and give their thoughts, where the introverts would just sit down and work on whatever they had to do. So we wonder why we accept others again. Do we accept others because of the way they dress? Does that attract us to others or repel us from others? What about the hair? If they have hair, but I had to bring it up. What about a tattoo? Okay, we look at their behaviors, how they treat others. There was a little experiment done, and this was on a college campus, and they just walked into individuals' dorm rooms pretty much randomly, but there was some basis before this, and so they wanted to see if they could judge the individual's personality by just looking at their dorm room. And can we judge an individual's personality by just walking through a house? So we have body shapes. Matter of fact, they had a study out, and some individuals did go body shapes. If they had a muscular shape or a pear shape, then they would have a certain personality. Facial expressions. This is kind of interesting because this certainly contributes into personality also. Overall, what we have here is that personality is an enduring set of behaviors. It's the way one thinks, acts, and feels. Now, we ask ourselves, can this personality be changed? When do we develop a personality? And these are some of the questions that as we go through this, you can be thinking about. Now, we have personality theorists. We have Sigmund Freud, who was psychoanalytical, and these are the three forces. He believed in the id, ego, and superego. He also had three levels of the mind: the unconscious, the preconscious, and the conscious. The unconscious was stored material, the preconscious was material that we could draw up, and the conscious was what we were always aware of. Then the id, ego, and superego. This is the way individuals develop. The id sought pleasure. The ego was kind of an arbitrator, and the superego was the ego idea or the conscious of the individual. We have the Oedipus complex and the Electra complex that Freud stated. And the Oedipus complex was the boy wanting to do away with the father and being with the mother, and the Electra complex was just the opposite, the girl wanting to do away with the mother and be with the father. And of course, Freud had to bring in penis envy and claiming that the masculine strength is what women would be seeking. We have B.F. Skinner was another theorist with behaviorism. He was the second force of the three forces. He believed that behaviors are reinforced. And then we have Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, and their approach was humanism. And what they would say is, we want to take the individual where they are at and go with them from that point. Now, what is interesting with Rogers and Maslow, they focused on this. The person is good, but the behavior may not be wanted. So they would accept the person, but then try to work on the behavior. So they separated the person and the behavior. That is difficult to do because sometimes we judge individuals on their behavior, and that determines whether we really like them or whether we do not like them. So this is a brief overview of personality, an exciting study. And as far as the course in personality, I teach the course in personality. So I hope to see you someday soon in Theories of Personality. Until we meet again, goodbye.